Thank you.
Thanks. Hi, thank you all for coming. I'm going to be talking about LithiumBank and our projects. We are developing the largest portfolio of deep brine lithium projects in North America. Our projects are located in Alberta and Saskatchewan. So our company mission is simple. We are deploying rapid capital very efficiently to acquire large-scale projects, to develop them, de-risk them, and to monetize them. To date, we started out privately in 2019. We raised some money and we acquired 4 million acres of brine assets for about $1 an acre, roughly. We since characterized 3 brine reservoirs, over 93 cubic kilometers of volume of brine, established a resource estimate of 6.1 million tons LCE, indicated and inferred, published a preliminary economic assessment on our Boardwalk project in January with an effective date of February, and acquired a DLE licensed technology that is exclusive to the company in Western Canada. And in our mission, we've already sold our first project in Saskatchewan called Estevan for $165 an acre, totaling $15 million. So our goal in this mission is really to supply majors with feasibility-ready projects that they can then take on and deploy capital much more effectively and at large scale to develop these assets. And our management has a previous track record of doing this. If you look at the logos below, you'll see GoldX, LithiumX, Lithium One. Paul Matisic's our chairman. He's been part of all these companies that have taken these from staking to developing them through exploration and development, making a PEA on them, and subsequently putting them into the majors' hands where they have now developed them. The most impressive thing about these assets is that they've all been sold and all made shareholders quite a lot of money, but they're actually all in production. So these projects here have really been gone through due diligence and put into production. So we put these into stages. Acquisition, as I said, we've acquired 4 million acres at about $1 an acre. Stage 2, we're in the development phase right now. We're nearly completed that phase. As we continue that, we expect to get into the monetization phase, which we've started with some of our lower-end assets that have already been sold. So Stage 1, here's a map of our assets. The bulk of our acreage is in Alberta and our 2 projects, Boardwalk and Parkplace, about 1.8 million acres for both of them, and then 2 projects left in Saskatchewan, which Estevan is there on the bottom right of the map that we've sold already. Through some work, we have whittled that 4 million acres down to about 2.2 million acres that we consider development projects that are development ready for today's prices and today's advancement. Stage 2, we've done a lot of work since 2019, doing sampling programs, hydro studies, giving these projects resources that we'll look at in a little bit, and really getting these ready for permitting and for commercial development for a major. Through this stage, we'll probably spend, we're budgeted to spend, and we have the funds to spend $20 an acre on our 2 million acre package. So we've raised $25 million. We've sold a project for 15. We're fully funded to complete this Stage 2 process over the next 18 months. Stage 3, of course, is monetization. We've done that with our first project, $165 an acre in Saskatchewan, and we look forward to continuing that process with our other assets. So Alberta, our focus is in Alberta. We started out with a focus in Alberta and Saskatchewan, but Alberta in particular, we were able to stake these through online staking, which was very advantageous. But the government in Alberta has been very proactive. They've been working with us and stakeholders in Alberta to change the legislature to allow for better tenure packages, allow for permitting. The one benefit with being in Alberta is we're now regulated by the AER, the Alberta Energy Regulators, who regulate oil and gas. So instead of waiting for quite a long time to permit an open pit, as we know, we can get these things permitted in the same time frame an oil and gas project would get permitted, which is about 2 years. So once these things are ready, you can put them into production within 2 years of permitting, and a lot of that can happen during the construction. For example, a well takes 45 days to permit. That is a very short timeline to permit your production. It's a resource-friendly jurisdiction, of course. There's very large projects happening in Alberta. and these projects can be carried over. The government is proactive in trying to keep Alberta competitive with other jurisdictions. And with the infrastructure, the legacy of oil and gas, you have highways, you have pipelines, you have water lines. It's very well connected. The workforce there is directly translatable to a brine project. So here's Boardwalk. It has 6.1 million tons at about 70 milligrams per liter. Our PEA shows that it can produce 34,000 tons of lithium hydroxide monohydrate per year for a 20-year period in our PEA. You can see the production zone there. It only covers about a quarter of the land, so there's room to grow on that for sure in coming years as that thing moves into production. Importance-wise, I talked about tenure. It's 400,000 acres of contiguous land. These are all Crown grants. There's no freehold in this area. It's a solid land package, and we've consolidated and own 100% of the Leduc. So the Leduc Reef is the hatched line in there, and you can see we consolidated the entire aquifer. There are no overlapping carbon sequestration rights. There's overlapping petroleum and natural gas rights. However, it's a depleted reservoir and there's no activity. So we're the only operators in this area, keeping this project very simple and very manageable from a production scenario. Going forward with this project, we're going to be entering a well. We purchased a well from a previous operator. We can go down it. We can drill out the entire formation. So we'll have a 300-meter fresh drill section of the Leduc Reservoir. We can increase our resource to measured and indicated. And we'll also be able to acquire brine samples for our pilot plant. Our direct lithium extraction technology I'll get to in a bit, but it's a big piece of our story. Here's the highlights of our preliminary economic assessment that was released in January. This is a very recent one. We redid this one. This is our second one because of our technology. Again, I'll talk to you in a bit, but it reduced our OPEX by about 37% because of this technology that we've licensed. It has a major EBITDA here, about $700 million a year, NPV of $3.7 billion, payback in 3.5. So very good starting point for a large project. Parkplace is our second Alberta project. Currently is 1.4 million acres. Of course, it's 3 times larger than Boardwalk. It took us a few extra years to consolidate this asset to get the claim package that you see now. Now that we've consolidated the bulk of this Leduc Reef and the underlying Swan Hills Formation, which is actually adjacent to each other and can produce from both reservoirs from a single well. So that's a major milestone for this company. As well, we've started working with Schlumberger because this is truly a hybrid deposit. It's not necessarily a mineral deposit, but it's not an oil and gas thing. It's a hybrid. And so Schlumberger has been very active in doing all the reservoir modeling, basin modeling, subsurface engineering to actually get a proper oil and gas style resource and subsurface model. This allows us to get a very strong well network and production model going forward. On that note, they'll also be working in Boardwalk as well. So going forward, we're going to continue complete our sampling program and put a resource estimation on this in the coming weeks. We've been working with them for several months, and we should have that news out shortly. And of course, with our pilot plant, we will be able to do the pilot working on this project as well, and that'll lead into a PEA. Our Saskatchewan assets, as I mentioned, you see the bottom right, Estevan, which we sold. We still hold 2 assets in Saskatchewan, totaling about 200,000 roughly acres, in very strategic locations in the province. So here's our exclusively licensed direct lithium extraction technology. It's a joint venture. So Go2 Lithium is the company name. It's a joint venture between Ivanhoe's Computational Geosciences, which is owned by Robert Friedland, of course, and Cleantech, which is an Australian water processing company. So they've been doing water processing for about 40 years. They've been doing ion exchange for over 20 years now. So This is a commercial plant of their ion exchange commercial plant in Australia, I believe for cobalt. They have another one for uranium. So they know how to work water. They know how to work ion exchange. So they converted it and for lithium. And so, like I said, reduced the all-pack significantly with this technology by 37%. It creates a very high-grade eluate, a very high-grade concentrate in a single step. So you go from our reservoir grade of 70 milligrams per liter all the way to over 3,000 milligrams per liter. That's 3 grams per liter. It's a very high-grade concentrate in this space. We haven't seen anyone come close to that to date. The pilot plant itself is shown here. This is in our Calgary facility that we're building out. We're currently just waiting for permitting, and we'll begin commencing the commissioning of that pilot. It runs 10,000 liters per day through it. So those tanks down there are 20,000 liters. We'll put one of those through in 2 days, and we'll have 2 drums worth of concentrate at the end of those 2 days. So it's very fast, it's very efficient, and it's shown to be very economic in the process. Here's our cap table, very strong cap table, 50 million shares, 40% roughly by insiders, friends, and family. We keep it very tight. We don't want to raise any more money. We're fully financed to complete our stage 2 of our mission, and we don't need to raise any more money. So I failed to mention that we work with Hatch. Hatch Engineering was critical in choosing our technology. We like to work with best in class. So Hatch being some of the world's best hydrometallurgists and process engineers. Schlumberger, of course, working with the subsurface and the world's largest oil and gas service provider. So working with these groups have really helped us advance the project and put them in a place where a conservative resources where the data is very viable. Our team, Paul Matisek, I talked about a bit. Rob Suchuk is here. Feel free to reach out to us if we have any more questions. He's the capital markets side and responsible for keeping our cap table so tight and raising our money. I'm the geologist on the technical side, and we have a very strong technical and very active board of directors as well. So I'm running out of time, so I'll leave it there.
Well, thank you, Kevin. I've got a couple of questions, if I may. Can you tell us a little bit more about the company's exit strategy and what you see as the point in time where you monetize these projects?
Sure, yeah. So adding the value and de-risking these assets really adds a lot of value. So when you look at our peers, their per acre projects are, say, more in the plus 100, 150. We're trading quite low at the moment, so we see an exit strategy of $200+ per acre for these assets, which is quite a cheap, quite a low entry point for an asset of this size. Okay,
and to be able to sort of realize that, how far do you have to take the projects, the assets?
Well, working with a guy like Paul Matisek, he's very, very good at ensuring that you're making a good deal for both parties. Shareholders make a significant profit, as well as leaving money on the table for the person taking the risk and taking it on. So, in some cases it's lower, where we sold our Estevan where there wasn't a lot of work done at all on it, versus some of these bigger projects that, having a PEA and showing proof of scale, proof of concept with the DLE, and having a Schlumberger subsurface model where that's what an oil company would do anyways, would be a perfect place to leave it.
Okay, and given the company's name is LithiumBank, are you out looking for other projects to bring in?
No, not currently. I think we've closed off that part of it.
Okay, got a brief amount of time if there are any questions from the floor. We have one at the back there.
Yeah, thanks for that. That was very interesting. How would you have a one-step process, you say, for the DLE for concentration? So what kind of impurities are you removing in that process?
Yeah, so it's a hypersaline brine, so you have lots of magnesium, calcium, sodium. We're removing, that process upgrades it by 3,000, but we're removing about 70% of all impurities. So we're left with calcium, some magnesium, but those are easily dropped out in the second stage, which is a very cheap, simple stage of neutralization, which gets rid of about 95% of those afterwards. So it's a very clean, very pure product at the end of the DLE.
Okay, and then you refine from there?
And then it goes
down
through
to
an RO, yes.
98%? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have the percentages in front of me, but removing the divalence ones is about 98% after a neutralization step, and then it goes into a reverse osmosis.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Kevin.
Thanks.